Nashville, Tennessee. Nate, welcome to the Business and Wealth Show.
Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
You are most welcome. And Nate will be having a conversation with him in a moment, but he's an expert consultant for helping business owners, entrepreneurs, executives use LinkedIn as a strategy to either attract new clients, sell more, just grow their business. So let me hear a little bit more about that, Nate. Tell us what you do. And that's my quick introduction for you.
Yeah, so on a bumper sticker, it's that we help revolutionary industry leaders because I believe that entrepreneurs are the real change makers of the world. And so we help them enjoy every client, which is a question that I like to ask people is like, do you currently enjoy every client? Because a lot of people focus on getting high revenue potential clients, but not necessarily high alignment potential. And the quality of clients that people get really the business builds around that because they're the ones that are giving the feedback and the referrals and everything. So the quality of clients is kind of the change that we try to make. But yeah, for the last 5 years, I've ran a company called Apex Conversion, and our focus is on helping them find those ideal clients that are in the market and using LinkedIn to be able to bridge that gap and spark the right conversations with them.
All right, excellent. So, Nate, if anyone's about to click off, why should they stay and listen and watch?
If you use LinkedIn at all or you want to get clients at all, then yeah, you should stay because I tried everything else out there and it didn't work for me. So I had to take a step back and rebuild the wheel from what was working for me in cold calling, like in-person sales. So
So, essentially, is it
yeah,
more
if you want better
B?
clients, more clients, you should
Okay,
you
is
should
it
stay. Yeah.
essentially is this more B2B, would you say?
It can work for both, but I think B2B has the highest potential in terms of revenue wise, and so that's what I focus on. But the principles in it, for the most part, work with both because this is just working with people, really.
Excellent. So if you want to enjoy working with your clients, you want high paying clients, you want them to be enjoying working with you and stay as a client, then stay tuned because we're going to talk all things around marketing, sales, as well as LinkedIn. LinkedIn is just a vehicle, but essentially you need to understand
Yep.
that there is a customer journey. And what is a customer journey? What is your customer's journey? Do you know who your ideal client is? So stay tuned. So Nate, before we go deep into that, tell us, a lot of our listeners want to know, they're really interested in other people's entrepreneurial background. You know, how long you've been an entrepreneur, what happened, how did you get going?
Yeah, so I have been building businesses since I was like 10 or 11. I just didn't know that that was the an entrepreneurial path. I think it was just that my parents said I had to make money to get things.
Uh-huh.
So I was always like, doing, trying to start like lawn businesses, or we were selling comic books and video games and different things throughout the years as a kid. So that's kind of like where it started, but I wasn't really aware of it. And then I had a kind of a clothing company went towards the end of like high school ish. And that was kind of like the first company. I didn't make that much. Didn't do like super well, but I spent a lot of time at accelerators and incubators nearby. And so I was working with like a lot of businesses and just helping them. I just loved everything really that had to do with entrepreneurship. And then kind of the situation happened where I was working at a car dealership as a car salesman. And then I kind of got epilepsy there and had a seizure at my house. And so,
Oh,
um,
wow.
as you can imagine, driving around as a ticking time bomb, driving people around in cars is potentially the scariest thing that I can imagine. Um, so I was trying to find a way out of that, and I ended up with a opportunity from the incubators and previous jobs where someone asked if I wanted to be an entrepreneur and work from home. And so
Mm.
I did that for about 6 years and was able to figure out the whole epilepsy thing. But I started a business on the side. And when COVID happened, I basically went all in on that, which is what you see now.
Got it.
So yeah, that'd be about maybe like 8 years ago is when I got the first high ticket client, maybe a little bit longer. Um, but that was just on the side as I was being an entrepreneur. It was really once COVID hit that I went full in on my own thing.
Got it, got it, got it. And you have a published book, the name of your book, the LinkedIn High Ticket Handbook. Is that right?
Yep. Yep. LinkedIn High Ticket Handbook. Yep. But you can get it on Amazon or you can get it for free, like a PDF version on my website. If you go to
Uh-huh.
keys.natemorse.com/book, if you want like a free PDF of that. But yeah,
Oh,
that did pretty well. That's a great if someone wants to like figure out like, how do I optimize my profile? How do I think about LinkedIn at a deeper level? That's a great resource to go for.
superb, superb. So you said you tried various ways to attract clients in the past, from cold calling and all these other strategies. Talk us through some of these other strategies you used and why LinkedIn now.
Yeah, so I'm big um on outreach. And the reason that I am is because you can tailor it to the person that you're reaching out to, right? So you can become the most relevant thing. And so LinkedIn wasn't where I started. Like you said, I actually was doing door knocking and cold calling. And then I needed to find a more scalable way because I had clients and now I had to fulfill from them and I couldn't spend half my day calling to see when I can call again. Right. And so, but I did really well with it, but just time wise, it didn't work. So eventually I landed on LinkedIn because it has better targeting and you can send a connection note with your connection requests. And like no other platform really can you do that with. And so I kind of got into there, but then I would like go on Google and go through courses and stuff of what other people were doing, and it all felt like stuff that wouldn't work in the cold calling world. And um so yeah, that's really kind of what it was. And I kind of had to take a step back and rebuild the wheel and go, okay, like what worked for me in cold calling and door knocking um that isn't here. And then I worked on implementing that. And that was probably the biggest thing.
Wow. Wow. So are you saying your USP, your unique selling proposition was the fact that you had been grounded in cold calling when you came across this tool and you realize that what people are teaching others to you in terms of how to use LinkedIn wasn't working because of what the knowledge that you had, because people are not privy to that, right?
Yeah, and it's just the way I think it's just the way that things go. Like markets sophisticate, different things kind of evolve. And so in the beginning, like most people, what they do when they think of business, they want to put like a flyer out or something that says that they exist,
Uh-huh.
right? And stuff about them. Okay, so even when they're um like that was kind of the approach that people were doing. It's just letting people know like, hey, I exist. But when I was doing like cold calling, or I've had various jobs of working at car dealerships and different tons of sales jobs throughout the year. Okay. And in person versus online was very different. And so in like online, people are just saying, yeah, like here, like when you're ready to buy, come here and I exist and blah, blah, blah. And like they're all focusing on them, 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 them. And then, but in person, I found that I had much more success if I focused on the relationship first and found something relevant between us that was a good talking point, right?
Right.
And so that allowed things to really progress. Like when I was working at a car dealership, right? Like the majority of the people that visit the lot, I can take down their wants and needs and contact information. It's almost, 90%. But online, most online, whether it's websites or LinkedIn or what have you, they rely on the person picking them out before they can connect with them. And
Okay.
that is the majority of the buyer's journey, right? So if you're
Yeah.
not able to be the guide to help them through their decisions, then they don't have a reason to talk to you yet,
Right, right.
right? So yeah, so
Okay.
finding that out, then I focused on how do I find people who are in the market right now.
Hmm.
That's another kind of advantage or piece that really helped with it.
Good. Thank you for that. So tell us about, you mentioned the buyer's journey a couple of times already. Why is that important? Because you gave a reason why people should stick and sit around and listen and watch. Tell us about a buyer's journey and why that's important.
Yeah, because the buyer's journey, if you can connect with someone who's in an earlier stage of the buyer's journey, that you have much more control in the sales process. But if you wait until the end, right? Like a lot of people on LinkedIn will just create a bunch of content and hope they create enough attention that eventually someone decides to work with them, right? That
Mm,
whole piece in the middle is the buyer's journey,
mm,
right? So
mm.
if you're not progressing them through like the shifts of beliefs and different things that they need to actually become a buyer with you, you're just waiting there as some option for them with no relationship. And so I think the chances of you becoming their best solution for something that's high ticket that has a long buyer's journey potentially just because it's a bigger investment. I just think that's not the way to play the game. I think
Thank
there's
you.
a much better aspect if you can become the guide, making them the hero of their own like buyer's journey
Yeah, yeah. With all this,
versus just like positioning yourself at the end of the finishing line. Yeah.
I hear you. I hear you. With all the myriad of social media channels, whether it's Instagram, Threads, X, LinkedIn, Facebook, etc. Why LinkedIn? You mentioned one particular reason. Well, why LinkedIn? If I'm a business owner, if I'm an entrepreneur, why LinkedIn rather than Instagram, Facebook?
Yeah, targeting is gonna be the first big one. It's gonna be very
Okay.
difficult to find who you want through
Mhm.
Instagram or Facebook when it comes to the targeting aspect, comparatively to LinkedIn, especially if you're in B2B. The second is that the connection note, which may be what you're thinking of that I said earlier, is that you can add a connection note, right? Whereas like Facebook or Instagram, if we were to, let's say Facebook, for instance, if we were to send them a friend request, right? All they see is like our face, and if we send a message, it's getting hidden in the hidden inbox, right? And so they have to decide your intentions based on just like what you look like, right? So that doesn't work as well for me because I can add the note in and the targeting is better, but also the tonality is that we're here for business, right? Facebook is we're here for talking about cats and dogs, which I
Right.
love dogs. Don't get me wrong. I have an awesome dog. He's the best. Dogs are my favorite type of people.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, like those elements make a huge difference. Easier to talk about business, easier to find them, and easier to start conversations.
Right, right. Makes a lot of sense. The As an entrepreneur, and I say the number one skill as entrepreneurs is the ability to sell. No sales, no revenue coming in. No revenue coming in, we might as well close a business because there's no customers, there's no money coming in. You're going to get run out of money. You're going to be in trouble. So, as a salesperson or as an entrepreneur, how can I use LinkedIn effectively to build my pipeline and drive sales? Do you have like a 5-step strategy process or anything like this, or 6-step, whatever it's called?
Yeah. I mean, I do. I mean, it's one of our like one of our main programs is
Oh,
essentially it works like an assembly line, and we actually walk them through all of it because the thing is that I could give like, hey, like go, if you're just wanting to gain connections, just go out and connect consistently with people that are your target market, right? So use Sales Navigator, do that, and then max out the connection requests. So it's like 100 to 200 a week. Might be a little bit smaller when you first start out, but 100 to 200 a week, and then make sure that you're following up with people, and content is becoming more and more important. So making sure that's in there. But yeah, I mean the hard part about that answer is that the biggest thing that I've noticed is that the foundational, like initial target market analysis basically creates everything else, right? So I can give you the framework for what to do, but if that first piece isn't in there, then you might not have the relevancy. For example, I was talking to a client yesterday and they were about to launch things and they were showing me what they wanted to do. And they were going between like, okay, here's all these different groups of people that I can talk to and potential clients. And the thing is that if you want to go after this big group, right, then you
yeah.
essentially have to speak to them only in the common denominators, right? Only in the overlaps between them. And so for me, I really focus on relevancy driving urgency. So if I can find people who are in the market who are like the perfect people, then I can be hyper relevant to them, right? And so it's a different strategy. There, I could give you a five like step thing, of like, yeah, optimize your profile and then connect with people and then message and then, put out content. And then, this step that most people are probably missing is using data to actually
Mm.
optimize things. But that first piece there is the stuff that is more difficult to find people actually doing, because they'll give you the frameworks for action, but eventually you're going to have to go back to that foundation and refine it. And that's usually what I've found over the years is the difference. And so we like to focus on, okay, how do we find the low hanging fruit in the market and then become hyper relevant to them? So that, like, that's the real strategy. The other stuff is like, you can get traction and you can have fun and you can, like, be doing the thing, but there's a level of, how much relevancy do you want is going to show you how much urgency within that market that you want to go after.
Let me pose something at you, Nate, and give me your expert opinion on this. Like yourself, like lots of people on LinkedIn, I get bombarded with messages and also with requests to connect. And some of them, I look at it and think, okay, I'll connect this. I look at their profile, okay, I'll connect here, I'll connect here. And some of them, after I've connected, obviously there's an automation in there that I get a message, a whole set of messages saying, hey, are you interested in this? You want to buy this? And so I want to, from your opinion, what works, right? Because a lot of those who say, hey, are you interested in this? Hey, do you want to buy this? I just happen to delete those messages. So yes, I've connected, but I'm just
Yeah.
deleting the messages. What is right?
Yeah.
What is wrong?
Yeah, that's wrong. That's what we were talking about earlier, right? And because that's what I find most people doing. And when I was trying to figure this out, that's like the
Oh,
advice I
okay.
got was it's a numbers game and like start sending out offers and stuff like that. And it's like, okay, well then my question to you is how good is it going to work if your strategy is essentially just going in to somewhere and, walking up to someone and first thing you say is like, here's all the reasons that we should get married, right?
Yeah.
Like, how's
Yeah.
that gonna work, right? So that's what I came up against when I was first doing it. And when I went back to, okay, why was cold calling working so well? It was because literally of the market research. So for example, let's say that I found that you posted on some like competitor of mine's website and we're talking in questions that you asked, right? If I were to engage with you about the questions that you asked over there, I am way
Mm,
more in the ball game than someone pitching,
yeah.
right? I am actually rolling out the red carpet to you,
Mm, right. Right. Yes. That makes a lot.
right? So that's what we wish, right? We want the right things to like find us,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so instead, we actually need to be the people that are finding those people.
Mm, okay. Okay.
And then you can become more relevant than any ad or post or whatever they're seeing because you're literally creating a tailored experience for them.
But Nate, doesn't that take time, energy, and effort? And if I'm a very busy small business owner, doing other things, and now I've got to get into relevant conversations with people, eh, what's the reward and the downside to all this?
I mean, the reward is going to be better clients
Mm,
because the higher up that you go in quality of clients that you want, the more busy they are, and the more that have things being relevant actually sticks out because they get spammed a lot as well. And even if they have employees, right, their biggest thing for them is like, is that person like making it as fine tuned to me as possible, right? So that's the reward. Now in terms of time, yeah, it can take a long time, especially if like, so we have a refined process,
okay.
so like we have a framework and way of doing things and processes to actually make that faster. So it could be like, okay, what's a faster framework for you? Or like, do you want to have a VA, right? There's a
Okay.
process that we can have a VA go through, or maybe you just want to outsource it to us, right? Like there's different angles that you can use to take care of that piece.
Got it. Got it. Got it. Got it. Right.
Obviously, if you're trying to figure it out on your own, then you're not only like, hey, how much time does that take? You're like, hey, I need to figure out how to do it in general on top of the time it takes. And that makes it take way more.
So on that note, then tell our audience here how you work, because obviously you're working with small business owners, coaches, consultants, these agencies to utilize LinkedIn. What is your process? How do you work? Why should they stop trying to figure it out on their own and doing a bad job and say, hey, let me listen to Nate. If Nate knows what's going on, let me just follow this.
Yeah. I mean, I would happily pay me more than 10 times of what I charge if I had me back then,
Okay.
because of just I know how long it took for me to actually figure it out. So, um, I mean that's what I would do. But um, yeah, I mean in terms of process, what we do is we will take in a client and then we will help them figure out like what's the most relevant strategy and where are the low hanging fruit at.
Hmm.
Once we have that, then we work on finding the people who are in the market and building out, okay, what's the approach that's actually going to make this work? But not only just one, from over the years, I've seen what different angles can work and have a kind of testing. It's called a rapid refinement protocol for us that allows us to run tests and know when we're doing outreach what stuff is actually working and what should we test next and things like that. So there's lots of data that we have at our disposal from doing it for years. But that's really it, and it's like it can be as simple as coming in, filling out a couple of documents, us doing the research, building everything out, and then in 2 weeks you're ready to go, right? So in the most simplest way, it's that. Otherwise, if you want to actually do it, then yeah, we have an assembly line like process where you go through and we work with you at checkpoints, right? Just like an assembly line to make sure that the nuances are figured out. Because I was doing this only done for you for about 3 or 4 years so that I could really refine it and crack it. And then I figured out, okay, how do we make it a little bit more scalable? And at first I was thinking of doing like a course or group coaching, but I found that courses like don't address the nuances at all. And group coaching kind of does, but that coach usually doesn't have that close of an understanding of that client.
Hmm.
So that's basically where we revamped it with like private Slack channels, like individual advisors, so things are way more fine-tuned, so that nuance can get figured out. Because if relevancy drives urgency, then the nuances are definitely one of the main variables in that.
Got it. Got it. With the impending technology that is AI, how will that change the landscape of whether it's LinkedIn or otherwise, in terms of how small business owners can get new leads? Talk little bit about AI.
Yeah, AI is definitely, and there's a lot of things that we show in there of how to use AI to like speed up the process. I think like, AI is great for workflow, but even like the assembly line that I'm saying, where there's people in there as checkpoints, even if AI is in there, there still should be like human checkpoints to make sure that things are good. But I mean, yeah, it makes things much easier, right? If you want to optimize your profile, right, you can
Mm,
use AI to help you with 80 or 90% of the work. You know,
okay.
I wouldn't I wouldn't necessarily use it for the messaging aspect. I haven't seen it work super well in that, just because its tonality will change and it'll kind of be more um trying to think. It's not defensive, but I don't want to say needy. I don't want to say needy, but it's too like it's trying to appeal to them too much versus acting as an authority. I mean, you can tell it to not act like that, but anyways, still in the midst of figuring that part out. But I mean, for now, yeah, I mean, a lot of people are using it for content, and if you're using it to make 100% of the post, I don't think that's necessarily the best. I think most of it is helping through that like market research phase and stuff like that and figuring out ideas and helping with the workflow. I don't think it's so much the end all be all. But who knows what'll happen? Who knows what'll happen in the future?
Hmm. Thanks for that, Nate. Nate, have any of your clients that you worked with come back to you and said, "Look, hey, Nate, thanks for your work. This has saved me this amount of time, or this has given me an increase of this amount because I'm using your system now." What's been some of the case studies people reported back on?
Yeah, I mean, we've had a lot of people get like their best clients in the first like week or month. And I don't want to put that as expectations. It's more
Right.
just an interesting thing to see because they'll get, $50,000 plus clients, $100,000 clients, within that little short period. And again, not expectations. Not everybody's going to get that. But it has happened quite a bit. So that's really interesting. And then in terms of time, oh man, yeah, because people, be doing it on their own and like not getting that good of results, and they're kind of like tinkering around. They can't really, haven't really figured it out. And that's usually when they come to us, is because we crack it for them, right? And so that that saves them a ton of time for sure.
Perfect. So while you're there, tell us, for those watching, listening in, thinking I'd love to learn more from Nate or contact him, what's the best way for them to be able to get in touch with you?
Yeah, so you can find me on LinkedIn. That's good. You can also, there's resources, blog articles, and stuff on my website. So natemorse.com, MORSE, like Morse code. There's also a case studies page on there if you want to see more of what I was just saying a second ago. Yeah, the books on there, newsletters on there. Um, that would be probably the main place. But yeah, I can also do an audit on your stuff. So if you go on there, there should be a way to book a call with me or on my LinkedIn as well. Um, and for now, at least I'm on that. It may be a member of my team in the future, but
Mhm.
for now, if you want an audit, I can look over things with you and tell you what I would do if I were in your situation.
Superb. You're listening to the Business and Wealth Show with Nate Morse and the Business and Wealth Coach, Mac Attram. Now, I'm going to go back to Nate in a moment to check in to see if there's anything else we need to know before we finish, in case I haven't asked him that relevant question. And remember, if you like what you are hearing from Nate, drop us a comment. Tell us what you've got out of this. And also, the algorithm loves engagement. So give us an emoji, give us a comment, do
All the
something.
algorithms do.
Yeah, do something so that we can bring you more awesome experts like Nate. Nate, over to you. Yeah, anything I haven't asked you that's relevant that our audience needs to hear about here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really focused on not just getting more, but better clients.
Mm,
So with that comes like who are the better clients that you would want, right? But then also who are the clients that you don't want, right? Because what you need to work on is figuring out the alignment level, that not only like how high of revenue can you get, but also the alignment between you and them. And looking at what you don't want helps you find out what you do want easier.
awesome, awesome, awesome. Nate, thank you so much. Everybody, remember to like, subscribe, also follow, depending on which particular channel you're on. I really appreciate you listening and watching this. Nate, thank you so much. And I'm going to wish you a best rest of your day. Thank you for jumping on.
Absolutely. Thanks for having
Okay,
me.
you're most welcome. Thank you. Until we speak again, yeah, share this with your friends, share this with your contacts, your business associates as well, so they can get this quality content.